be able to put your business on cruise control.
Boy, how true that is, Adam.
Let me say that again. You will never be able to put it on cruise control. And it's so key to make sure that you're hearing this and being aware of it, because there is so much out there, everything from the 4-hour work week to doing this and that, and where people think that, and they're working towards this goal, which is really not the right goal to be working towards, Jack, which is, I want to get to the point where I'm sitting on the beach, drinking pina coladas, doing whatever else I'm doing, checking my smartphone, and things are just running along fine and dandy.
Oh, yeah, that should be a debunker as well, because it just doesn't work, for sure. And how often, we have 7 keys to success that we've honed each from our 15 years of experience, both with big companies and owning and operating and coaching small businesses. One of the first things of those 7 is a vision. And we have our clients express a vision. They got to get passionate about it. They got to see it. It's a present tense, not an academic exercise. It's a 3-paragraph present tense 10 years from now. Tell us where you are. What are you doing? And I would say, I don't know, Adam, what did you say? 40% probably all start with sitting on the beach drinking pina coladas, and they've in 10 years they've taken their business sets in their mind to a point where they can just sit on the beach and crack shrimp and do what else they're going to do.
And after we wake up because we're falling asleep because it's so uninspiring, right? So how are people going to want to make sure you're doing that? Because again, it's not a big driver or motivator for them. But even if you get to that point, and we'll talk about, you can get there for periods of time, maybe for a few weeks or a few months, and it's good. And we have to often help our clients celebrate and know when it's okay to celebrate and enjoy when you're having some good runs that way. But to say that's your goal is to get there, if that's how you're thinking about it, the idea of putting together this 10-year vision that Jack's talking about, it's going to make no sense to you. And if that's what you're trying to do, well, maybe you really shouldn't be the one running the company anymore. Maybe you should be looking to sell it.
That's where your head is already.
Right.
Yeah. Not the fun of the challenges. You basically, you aren't going to be able to be on cruise control because any business, is always in one of 4 states. It's in a state of growing. There's you got a big order from a large Fortune 100 company, and all of a sudden it's going to transform your small business. That's one. Or you're declining. Your company all of a sudden hit a wall. You lost a big client. Something major happened, and now your business is in a state of decline. Or you're bumping along. Things are kind of okay. You're up a quarter, down a quarter. You're trying to make something exciting happen, but that's the 3rd state. And the 4th state is a transition of some type. Maybe you're of an age, or there's a health situation, and you're going to transfer this business to somebody. But the reason that you can't put your business on cruise control is because one of these 4 states always exists. To Adam's point, you got to take a break, maybe even work to take a month off or so. Eventually you might get the organization in place where you have somebody who can take over the serious day-to-day operations. But basically, there's always stuff happening. Markets change. I mean, just look at what's going on in the world. That's all you got to do is step out and look at what's going on in the world.
Well, things change. I guess from a mental standpoint, Jack, maybe a good analogy would be, and I think most people can probably relate to this. If you have a job, and you've decided to leave that job to go somewhere else, once you made that decision to go somewhere else, you switch right off, right? And so that's kind of what you're doing when you're talking about trying to go on cruise control. And we've got different examples of this. Whether it be one of our clients tried to do it a little too early, and again, Jack and I have a ton of experience. He mentioned 15 years before. That's how long Jack and I have been together. But between the two of us, we're going on a century in terms of just running and operating both small and big
We're going to scare
companies.
People away with that.
Numbers add up in a hurry, don't they? But so our clients are often like kids from the standpoint that they don't always take our advice, or they have to learn things themselves. And so we had a client a couple years back that was still pretty new into his company, and his spouse convinced him to take 3.5 weeks off, and weren't ready at the point to kind of do it, but he decided to do it, and things kind of stalled. It didn't stall right away. Things were okay when he was gone, but he came back, and him not being there for that time all of a sudden you could see it in the company.
Yeah, I remember that.
Had another client who was actually running a company that was about 1,000 miles away, and he would be there every week. He'd go down, and he backed off to going every couple of weeks and once a month, and it got to the point where he just, you know, it was running so well, and it was an award-winning company. He was on the Inc. 5000 list and growing and doing well, that he would have his check-ins, and he would, you know, operate things remotely, you know, checking reports and that, but you know, his physical presence there was maybe once a quarter, maybe a couple times a year, and all of a sudden things started to fall apart because, again, he was getting to that point where he was almost trying to put it on cruise control. And so, again, it can work in little bits and pieces of it, but to have that as being, that's the thing. Again, either you should be at that point thinking about selling the thing or shutting the thing down. It's not a goal you should have in mind for your company.
Well,